People who create entire stories in their heads before bed often consider it a harmless habit. "I just fantasize to fall asleep faster," they say. But if such scenarios become a mandatory part of every evening, if it's difficult to relax or fall asleep without them, this could be a sign of a psychological phenomenon called compulsive daydreaming. These aren't just pleasant thoughts before bed. They're meticulously constructed plots with dialogue, characters, and emotions. The brain begins to work as both a screenwriter and a director. A person lies in the dark and an entire film unfolds within them. In it, you can return to old conversations and replay them, say the words you couldn't say then. You can imagine a future conflict and prepare the perfect arguments in advance. You can create a version of yourself, more confident, stronger, more loved. At first glance, there's nothing dangerous about this. Imagination is a normal function of the psyche. It helps us plan, analyze, and prepare for events. But with compulsive daydreaming, fantasies become not a tool, but a way to escape reality. They repeat day after day, becoming increasingly detailed and emotionally charged. Sometimes a person waits for the evening precisely for these inner stories. Why does this happen? Most often, this mechanism develops when real life seems unpredictable, cold, or empty. If a person frequently experiences anxiety, loneliness, or the feeling of being uninfluenced and unheard, the psyche seeks a way to regain a sense of control, and it finds it in imagination. In fantasy, everything is subject to the author. There, you can stop an unpleasant conversation, change another person's reaction, achieve recognition or love. There are no accidents there unless they are needed. This inner world becomes a closed territory, a safe place where no one interrupts, rejects, or judges. Over time, such fantasies become a ritual. A person goes to bed not only to sleep, but to turn on their internal series. Sometimes this takes an hour or more. If someone distracts them, irritation sets in. If, for some reason, the scenario doesn't unfold, anxiety or a feeling of emptiness arises. For some, such stories are an attempt to write an ending that never happened in reality. For example, to receive an apology, recognition, or victory in a situation that ended in disappointment. For others, it's a way to compensate for a lack of intimacy. In their imagination, they can create an ideal partner, friends who always support them, or an audience that admires them. There's another important point. Such fantasies are often accompanied by strong emotions, joy, triumph, relief. The brain reacts to them almost the same way as to real events. Pleasure hormones are released and tension levels decrease. Therefore, the habit becomes ingrained. The psyche remembers, "This makes me feel better," and it returns to this method again. The problem is that fantasies don't address the underlying cause. They provide temporary relief, but they don't change reality. If there's a lack of support in life, it doesn't increase. If there's an unresolved conflict, it remains. In the morning, a person wakes up and faces the same thing again. Sometimes the contrast between the imaginary world and reality makes the day even more difficult. Over time, this state can become dependent. Real events begin to seem less vivid than internal narratives. Absent-mindedness sets in, making it harder to concentrate. A person may indulge in fantasies more often not only before bed, but also during the day, on public transportation, in class, at work. This begins to impact their quality of life. It's important to understand, daydreaming in itself isn't a pathology. It becomes a problem when it replaces real life and becomes the only way to cope with emotions. If it's difficult to fall asleep without fantasies, if they take up a lot of time and interfere with communication or work, this is cause for concern. What can help? First and foremost, understanding the cause. Often, anxiety, dissatisfaction, and repressed emotions underlie compulsive daydreaming. Working with a psychologist can help you understand what exactly is missing in reality and how to gradually change it. It's also helpful to develop real sources of emotion, live communication, creativity, physical activity. Another step is to regain control not only in your imagination, but in your life. Set small, realistic goals, learn to express your thoughts directly, and don't put off important conversations. The more a person feels an influence on what's happening around them, the less need they have to build a closed world inside their head. As long as real life doesn't provide a sense of security and meaning, the brain will continue to create it itself. It doesn't do this out of spite, it protects. But real change begins when a person gradually transfers this ability to create a desired reality from their imagination into everyday actions.